Okay, so I'm going to talk to you really quick about a piece of code that is pretty powerful and useful. So we've already used it before when we worked with Python, and I'm going to show you it's a little bit different in Arduino. And so what we're going to be working with is for loops. Okay, now let's see, when we used Python, it was like for x in range, and then it gave you a range of numbers. The syntax for Arduino and C++ looks like this. Okay, so for statements gonna look like this. I think it's actually lowercase. So we have to initialize the letter as a variable. So we're say int x semicolon. Then we're gonna say give it a starting, or we give it a string value too. So we'll say x equals 0. Then we're gonna say the maximum value for x. So it will say x is less than, say, 100. Okay, and then finally we're going to tell it to count up. Okay, and if you don't want to do it like that, you could have it count by 2. You can do a lot of things with x there. And so this is the basic syntax. So notice that you have actually 3 semicolons here, one for each of these 3 statements. But other than that, it kind of looks like an if statement. Okay, and so now when we do this, we can print it out, and I'll show you it's going to count up. So serial.print x, and you can go ahead and see when I run it. Oops, I guess we don't use that last semicolon right there, so we just use 2 semicolons. Right, and you see it just counting up a bunch of times, so that's not very readable. So let's do a couple things to make it readable. We'll skip a line there. We'll give a short delay of about just like, we'll say 20 milliseconds. Okay, let's run it now. So we can connect, and now you see it counting up. Once it gets to 100, it's going to count up again. Okay, so what's happening is inside this loop, it completes this for statement counting up to 100. When the for statement's done, it's going to go back through the loop again and do it again. Notice that, sorry, first of all, that was pretty awesome timing. But second thing, notice that right here it stops at 99 instead of 100, because we told it that x is less than 100. If we want to, we could say less than or equal to 100, depending what you're trying to do. Okay, so from here, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. So if you want something to happen a whole bunch of times, you could do that. If you think about like our blink sketch from before, we could use this to control the delay in the blink sketch, making it go faster and slower, like alternating between them. You could also use this to do, like when we did really complex sequences with the 6 LEDs, you could use this also to save yourself some time and some lines of code. And then let's just kind of show us some other things. Let's say it count up, and now I want to count back down. So I'm going to make a copy of this so that I can count down, and this time I'm going to say that x is going to start at 100, and then I want x to be greater than 0. Okay, and instead of doing x plus plus to count up, I'm going to do x minus minus to count down. Alright, so we'll go ahead and run that and see what happens. You know what, and before we do, let's change this to 50 so we can see it a little bit more clearly. Alright. Let's also fix my syntax there. Okay, so we connect, and now we see it counting up all the way to 100, and then it's counting back down all the way to 0. Then it counts back up all the way to 100, and so on. Okay, so this is examples of these for statements. Make sure you put this in your notes, and make sure you put the exact syntax that you need to use, because this is something that you're going to use a lot. because you can do a lot of really cool things with it. Okay, so this is 4 statements.